Thanks. As said by John, my name is Lucas. I'm running the international sales engineering team for Synopsys. International means EMEA and APJ. I'm in AppSec since 2008, so getting close to 14 years right now. When I think back of that time, actually it's surprising and quite a bit of a journey. Today, what I would like to talk to you about is really, in a nutshell, ASOC. Not sure if you heard about that term, Application Security Orchestration and Correlation. This is really how we get faster through the AppSec, because the one big issue everybody's complaining about is AppSec is taking too much time. That's really all about it. So if we have a quick look at the agenda, a short intro, what is the overall problem with application security? I think you will know a lot of these things, and understanding the need for application security, orchestration, and correlation. And bear with me, I'm not a native speaker, as you may heard, so I've constantly hassling with some of these words. Then getting over to what ASOC technology is and what it is not. How ASOC improves the efficiency across the secure development lifecycle, and then finally having a short chat on why is it worth an investment. So, and if you have any questions in between, right, really don't hesitate to interrupt me. I prefer that much more, having an open discussion than just running through a set of slides and at the end everybody's bored. So if we look at software development nowadays, it has changed dramatically, right? Even in those 14 years, which I'm in AppSec, and I don't even think about my time before as a developer, it's really, really going through a massive shift. I remember in 2008 when I was getting an AppSec, we were just talking about agile development, and nobody really understood what that meant yet, and was like, hey, let's try to get faster. And really, where we have come to right now, it's a complete shift, right? We're talking about microservices, we're talking about serverless applications. Some companies releasing software 10 times a day, 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day. That was unheard of. Even running through a build that often, right? Completely unheard of at that time. Deployment models, having situations right now which nobody ever dreamt of, right? Really deploying wherever you want and wherever fits. On the other side, we have to keep, and that is what we very often forget about, we have to keep in mind that the old models still exist, right? We still have all these huge, massive, monolithic applications in play. So really, it's not like we did a completely shift and everything is new right now. No, we just added on and added on and added on. We have this huge stack of different possibilities right now. And that makes it really, really complex. Just a few examples. Actually, you can read them by yourself. The one which is really striking me is the one on the lower left side, Etsy, right? When you talk about a monolithic application, a big monolithic app being deployed 60 times a day, which is meaning roughly every 20 minutes. This really blows my mind. All the other things, right, well, Amazon reportedly deploys new software to production every second. Well, it's probably, right, there's a ton of different software which is deployed. Right? If you come up with this number, you can't have the same software deployed every second. That's useless, right? So, but this one on the lower left side, every 20 minutes deploying a monolithic app, that shows how far we have gone in all that bit. And shows really the complexity. And if we are talking about software development in a security group, right, we always have to talk about application security as well, right? And these are staggering numbers as well, right? You see here, 90% of all the customers which have been asked here, or all the companies, have more than 5 application security testing tools. 70% have more than 10, and a quarter, so over 25%, have more than 20 different application security testing tools. So this is really a vast amount of technology which is put in order to make sure that what the developers are producing is actually secure in the end of the day. I'm not going to explain to you right now why it's important that it's secure, right? I think that is clear. And it becomes clear here as well, right? Developers want to go faster, 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 faster. Security guy, stop. We have to test for security, right? We can't go that fast. And then at one point in time, the developers getting frustrated and start moaning and starting a revolution. And at one point in time, and second point in time, the business saying, guys, we can't wait on you, right? You're really too slow, so we have to release without your approval, and you're just overruled. And that leads us to the situation which we see, right, constantly. Unfortunately, in the last days, I was too busy in order to really look at the latest newsletters, but I'm pretty sure we had some nice new hacks again. So we are releasing unsecure software, and we have all these cyber attacks, which we are reading every day and burning tons of money, right? That's just this one number down there, $6 trillion by end of 2021, just by cyber attacks. So it's not like, this is not games anymore, right? There's real money involved. This is, and I think that is very clear for everybody. Why are developers being so frustrated about application security, about these huge amount of tools? Well, a lot of these tools have been built for a time when it was actually, you had a release a day at a maximum, right? Perhaps a week, right? So the scanning process is slow. So AppSec has not really made the shift yet in order to really understand keeping up with that pace. So two very important points here. Pipeline congestion, what does it mean? Well, if you put all the AppSec tools into one single pipeline, your pipeline is not running in minutes anymore or in 15 minutes, something like that. It takes hours and hours, and nobody can wait on that, right? That's one big issue. And the other bit is, well, you can easily imagine with 5 tools, so for 90% that might be okay, but for the last quarter with over 25 tools, findings overload. You're just getting more and more findings. And that's another issue, whom are we asking, right? Everybody's talking about shift left. So the developers at the end of this left, right? So we're just throwing more and more stuff on the developer. That can't work as well. So that's the big issue. So we have a complete data overload. Okay, that's just the intro and why this is all necessary, right? What is ASOC? Gartner term, application, security, orchestration, and correlation. Showed up in 2019 in the Gartner Magic Hype Cycle, and I'm pretty sure you're all well aware of that. There on the getting peak of initial expectations, right? Really like, hey, this is going to solve everything. That's kind of this, and it obviously does not, right? None of these tools solve everything, let's be very clear. But that is where it showed up on the hype cycle in 2021. Well, a little bit of realization checking already getting in, so going down as well, which is important, right? Because, hey, let's be very clear. There is no one single tool which can solve all of the things, but you see it here. Another interesting term coming up there in 2021 is policy as code, and we will see why this is important. I'm going to mingle that into the presentation. It's a subset of ASOC. But that is a very important point as well. What does ASOC really do? Well, it delivers 3 primary benefits. Efficiency. So the goal of ASOC is, if we talk about all these different technologies, bring the data into one place. Right now, if you want to understand the status of one of your applications, you need to, first of all, figure out with which tools it was scanned. And then you need to go into all these single technologies to figure out the status, right? The idea of ASOC is, let's bring that all together. That allows us scalability, right? Suddenly, hey, we have all the data together, and we can apply a consistent process across all these technologies. So we don't need to bring all that, we need to adopt our process to all the different technologies. No, we have one technology where we see all the data, and we can have the processes around that. And that allows for much easier accountability, very clearly. And when I talk about accountability, and that is, I think, really the important part, I talk about these three major questions, which everybody will be asked the moment a breach is going to happen. And let me be very, very clear of that, right? And I think that is one of the big issues with application security testing. Nobody will give you the guarantee that no breach is going to happen. You just have to be prepared for the breach. That's the important point. And the three questions you will be asked first is, when was the software tested the last time? What issues were found? And which of those have been fixed? And why the others have not been fixed, right? These are the three questions you need to be, and if you then imagine, right, in that situation, you need to dig down in your 25 or 50, good luck, right? So having all this data together allows you for accountability. According to Gartner, this is the Gartner definition here, what an ASOC tool needs to do. It must integrate with a wide range of commercial and open source AppSec testing tools. So bringing all that data in from all these different sources. It must normalize and correlate the findings from these tools. Oh my God, what does that mean right now? Well, everybody's talking about correlation. The first time I heard about correlation in AppSec was probably around 2012 or something like this. Correlation is really kind of, and I'm happy to have an offline discussion with anybody about this. It's about bringing the results from two different scanning technologies together. So you have a SAST scan, you have a DAST scan, you bring them together and say, this is actually the same machine. That's kind of the holy grail. For me, it's the holy grail of all AppSec guys, right? It's happy to have a discussion outside of this one. Normalization is something completely different. If you imagine you're running a scan with two different SAST tools, right? Two different static technologies. Just for the example, well, I have to take one Synopsys tool at least, so let's take Coverity as a static scanner, and let's take checkmarks at the second scanner. They're running a static scan. You're doing that because the one application is much easier to scan from their tech stack with Coverity, the other one is much easier to scan with checkmarks. Happens, right? Let's be very honest, most of our customers, even so we would like it different, but most of our customers have technologies from different vendors. That's very, very normal. I give you one very, very clear thought here, or very clear idea. Checkmarks and Coverity will not name the same vulnerability the same, right? We are talking about two different applications. Let's take an SQL injection. And I have no clue what the real term is here, but let's just imagine Coverity is calling it a stored SQL injection. Checkmarks is going to name it a persistent SQL injection. Boom. It's the exact same thing, two different names. You have to bring that together. This is what we talk about normalization. Oops. And finally, it must provide orchestration capabilities. So application security, orchestration and correlation. It needs to be able to absorb all that data, not only technically, but understand as well, hey, there's a new scan being run in that pipeline. Trigger a new scan, potentially, right? All these things. So need to be recognized when the data needs to be collected. So these are the three terms, according to Gartner, which must be done for an ASOC tool. It's always good to define something as well, to clearly say what it is not. ASOC is not an additional scanner. ASOC, a specific ASOC technology might come with some scanners inside, but these are very often, these are always scanners you can get outside as well, running outside the ASOC technology. Very often you have some open source scanners being included already, just for the ease of it. But ASOC by itself is not an additional scanner. And very important as well, it's not just an aggregation tool, right? It's not about just bringing your data together and show them, and we have seen that by normalization and correlation, for example, right? Very clean. This is a must to have on top of it. What makes a good ASOC tool? And we see some repetition here right now. Out-of-the-box integration and support for existing security testing, development, and CI/CD tooling, right? Out of the box, as much technology to import as possible in the way it is implemented today, right? Meaning, if you have all your tooling already in the pipeline, you don't want to change that, really, right? You want an ASOC tool being able to recognize, hey, there was a new scan, and collect it, right? So this is why you have all these different strange acronyms. On the other side, it should very well be able to trigger scans as well. Integration with defect tracking systems for all AppSec testing tools. Why? Every technology brings it. Yes, good luck. 25 different application security testing tools. You connect them all to Jira in a bi-directional way. And then you start to make some changes in Jira. And right now you have your 20, 25 different integrations. No. We have all the data in one place, right? So let's push it from there into our defect tracking system. Correlation and analysis of results from a wide range of AppSec testing tools for each single application. And that's the important bit here, for a single application. So for a single application, you want to be as good as possible being able to recognize that from your different technologies, which you used for scanning, to say finally, this is the same application, and this is the same issue, right? That's the correlating bit. Normalization of results across all AppSec testing tools and across all tested applications. So this is the thing, you have different scanners from different vendors for different applications, you still want to get the one reporting, right? That is very, very important. Prioritization of results within an application and across all applications. Remember the issue overload we had at the very beginning, right? We need help in order to very clearly show, okay, within this application, these are the most important issues. And across all my applications, these are the most important issues, right? And there might be certain applications falling off and say, yes, yeah, they have issues, but at the moment, they're not top-notch. They don't need to be fixed immediately. If there is some bandwidth, definitely we should do it, but we don't need everything. Scope and nature of reporting, technical metrics, business and risk analysis. Well, we had these three major questions already, right? Well, if we have all that data in one place, why should we do reporting in all the different tools right now? Let's bring the reporting into this one ASOC tool. Okay, key challenges ASOC solves. Just as a repetition, these are really the big challenges we are all faced with, right? Developers moaning on us saying, it's not integrated, it's not automated, you have an inconsistent approach, you have too many false positives. Who's never heard too many false positives? Well, I hear it almost every day. Security testing slows us down, right? The result of all these issues is developer resistance. The developer is pushing back, they don't want to do it. And that brings us to the compliance part, right? We are very often out of compliance. And well, I have not met, well, that's not true. In my 14 years, I've met one CISO so far who really woke up in the morning and said, let's do the right thing, and started an AppSec thing. All others have different reasons, right? And the main reason is compliance. Let's be very clear. And we can be happy about the compliance because that is something which really gives us some ammunition as well to go down this route of AppSec. Because let's be very clear, that is a route to go. Old tools and methods slow DevOps down. We have seen this slide earlier already, but if you see the lower part right now, right? What is the answer to pipeline congestion? The answer is running more scans, which sounds obvious, right? But running more scans, smaller, really dedicated, right? Understanding very clearly which scan is necessary. Why is it necessary, just as an example, to run an SCA scan, a software composition analysis scan, if I just changed a few lines of source code? All the open source components have not changed, so why do I need to run a scan? Opposite around, I exchanged a few open source components. Why do I need to run a static scan, right? Becoming intelligent about that, really making very focused decisions on which scan needs to run. And finding management, we have talked about this a lot already, correlation, deduplication, prioritization, normalization, and with that, bringing the amount of issues down to allow the developers to really focus on these things. What does that mean? How does that look like, especially with our poor subject matter experts, our application security experts in the middle there, right? What they need to do right now really is to go into all these different technologies, and this is just an example here, right? Go in there, see all the issues, verify all the issues, potentially move them into Excel. Who's never seen reporting in Excel, right? If you imagine, you roughly need 10 minutes per false positive. So each false positive you can get rid of automatically reduces issues heavily. And I'm not saying false positives are not important, right? Because it's just the balance, right? The less false positives you have, very often you see the more false negatives you have as well, meaning you find less issues and you're missing some issues. So it's always a big balance. And then they have to go into each and every of these technologies, push it into Jira. Daunting task, right? Let's be very clear, this is a daunting task. So if you put ASOC in the place, right, you put all these results into one place, this is where your experts have to go. The issues are automatically normalized and correlated already, right? You have some orchestration involved in order to get all these issues in. Triage assistant, right? Having some AI, some machine learning in order to help you understand from your all the previous decisions you made to understand this issue is most likely a real issue or it is not. And again, this sounds like really complex, doing all these triage assistants right now with machine learning. You already have a ton of audited results because you can take the audits you have done before in the slide we have seen before, right? You don't need to run all the audits right now in the ASOC tool. No, the ASOC tools should be able to learn from all the existing audits already. And then you put it from there again into Jira. That looks much more like a workflow, which is really possible. If you put that into a more like a workflow process, intelligence orchestration, policy as code, which I talked about before, right? Making very clear understanding which scan do I need to run at which stage of a pipeline. Having your developers only going into one technology, looking from there, getting the issues, getting what they're working on. Don't have the necessity to connect your Eclipse to all your 25 different technologies. Just connect it to one. CI/CD pipelines. At the end, you get one system of record. And that's the important bit. That is your system of record, which is running your application security bit. Well, it would obviously not be a real presentation or a real vendor talk if I don't give you some resolution to that, right? You see, that is the whole bit of what Synopsys can offer. I'm pretty sure some of you know some of these bits. The two parts are the two black boxes on the right side I want to get your focus on. That is the important bit about ASOC as well. The two technologies we have here are intelligent orchestration and CodeDX. If you look at how does a normal workflow look like when you address software risk, the security department gives all the strategy, services, programs, put them up, and is writing policies about it, right? That is kind of running on the one side. Then the security department would do some risk reporting, might be GRC, whatever, right? And then you have all your developers with your DevSecOps workflow there and their ticketing system. Well, if you look at this picture right now, this is very often how disjointed application security looks like in a company, right? Even even the two lower bits here obviously are very close, but from a security perspective, they're really disjointed, right? It's like, no, it's two different areas to integrate with. And that is really where ASOC CodeDX would fall into play, bringing all these things together and making one story out of that. Correlating all the data, deduplicating the results, prioritize the results, interface with your bug tracking system, tracking the remediation, right? Understanding which issue has been fixed. So this is why it's very important to have a bidirectional, a two-way integration with a bug tracking system. Overall gives you very actionable insights into the software risk. Well, this slide is something which I think everybody is preaching. Again, since I'm an AppSec, I hear that constantly, and I've heard it before, right? It's about people, processes, and technology. It's not only about technology. A fool with a tool is still a fool. That is very clear here. So effective application security is not only about installing tools, it's about the people, the process, and technology. The ASOC allows you to get the processes in place. Why is it worth the investment? Higher speed. I think we have seen that, right? Especially with a policy as code, smaller dedicated scans. Reduced friction due to all that, right? That actually lowers the overall cost. These two terms lower the overall cost of it. You then get continuous feedback, right? You really understand where your issues are, and that allows you in order to get into compliance. And with that, I'm at the end. Any questions?